morning and welcome. Thank you, Business and Professional Women Regina, for hosting and organizing this event. And thank you, candidate colleagues and Della, for your contribution so far. And thank you for coming and for caring and for joining the conversation. I want to begin by acknowledging that we are all treaty people, that we are gathering as many nations on Treaty 4 territory today. I'm going to start with several stories, if you'll bear with me. In 1996, I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Religion, just in time to figure out I didn't want to work in religion. It landed me squarely at a burger joint. One day I was chatting with one of my male colleagues, and he had a high school diploma. And we realized that I made 90% of what he made, which was par for the course at the time. 20 years later, and again, acknowledging it depends on your methodology and source, for every dollar that a white man earns, a white woman can earn 71 cents. A minority woman with a visible minority, 64 cents, and an Indigenous woman, 46 cents. We knew about the wage gap a long time ago, and we know about it today. It's still here. In 2010, shifting gears here, I facilitated a job finding club for individuals who were chronically under or unemployed. It was a life-changing time for me, getting to know these neighbors. But Shelley, a single mom of a toddler, made a particular impact on me. She worked really hard through the program and she found a placement. We called the facilities. We called subsidized, we called private, we called unsubsidized, we called them all. We had the universal child care benefit. We could not find her a place for her child. So her choice, take the job and abandon her child and be told she's a bad mother, decline the job and stay at home with her toddler and be a welfare mom. It's not a fair choice. We knew about the lack of child care spaces way back in the 70s, and we knew the impact it had on women's lives and the economy. We knew it then, and we know it now, and it's still here. Let's go back further. 1891, the Regina Indian Industrial School opens its doors. Fall would come, and the RCMP and the clergy and the Indian agents would gather up all the Indigenous children from across the prairies and deliver them to school. Eventually, summer would come. Parents would wait with anticipation, and they'd see their son come off the train, and they'd say, "Welcome home, son. Where's your sister?" And the son would break the news. "She's gone. She died 8 months ago." Not long ago, I offered a ride from Kamsack to Kenora. We used to live in that area, to an Indigenous woman. She was hiking. I pulled over, and as she climbed into the truck, she gave a huge sigh of relief. "Oh, thank goodness. At first I thought you were a man." And I was aware what the usual fare might be. And lastly, just a couple of weeks ago, my white friend told me a story. She has a young Indigenous girl that comes over after school quite regularly. This little girl was 10 years old. And just quite matter-of-factly, she asked, "Jane, if I go missing, will you come find me? What will you do to find me?" We settlers and settler descendants knew we were creating a society conducive to the rampant disappearances, deaths, and murders of Indigenous women, Indigenous girls, and boys and men in 1891. And we know we are creating the same type of society today. And we got to change it. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about these issues. The data exists. It's easy to find. Community will exists. We're here. We care. We politicians, we're going to come up here and we're going to talk and we're going to say it's a good thing to fix these problems. The Green Party has great ideas. I like them. Restore funding and mandate to the status of women. Implement ideas from the Pay Equity Task Force. Advocate for universal affordable, high-quality childcare, incentivize employers to provide spaces and to reach wage parity goals. The Green Party recognizes Indigenous people's inherent rights and title. We support the consensus of the First Nations regarding self-government, the elimination of the Indian Act or revamping of it, a national inquiry to missing and murdered Indigenous women. Additionally, some of the root causes of these problems, we want to introduce a guaranteed livable income, replace the bureaucratic patchwork of anti-poverty measures, and just give people the money they need to live healthy, thriving lives. The Green Party also, I think one of their coolest ideas is to create a council of governments where we gather around one table: federal, provincial, municipal, First Nations, Inuit, and Métis governments. The time and the tolerance for partisanship and punting issues back and forth between levels, it's over. We can't accept that anymore, and the federal government needs to take the lead in creating a space where all levels of government get together and start fixing the issues. So the important question here, how do we transform all this data and community will and political rhetoric into on-the-ground, real-world change? My theory is the reason we struggle to address these issues once and for all lies in the fact that in Canada today we are in a democratic crisis. It may seem politics as usual, but it's not. The foundations, the very foundations that have given many of us great lives, are in shambles. It's just not quite showing to everybody yet. The house still looks good on the outside, but it's going to fall over if we don't act now. We've been invited to a politics of fear. Stop Harper, ABC, the NDP are going to ruin the economy, and Trudeau's just not ready, and the Greens don't have a chance. I say that's hogwash. Who says these things, and why do we listen? Harper's not the problem, for those who think he is. He's just the result of the problem. The NDP are not going to ruin the country. Alberta's going to be fine. Trudeau is as ready as anybody, and of course, Regina Louvan and any riding in Canada can nominate a Green person to represent them. There are enough non-voters and undecided voters for any riding in Canada to go Green. So don't believe it anymore. What's the crisis? We have a first past the post system. 38% of the vote gets 100% of the power. That is not democracy. We need proportional representation. We agree on that. But further, we have a Prime Minister's office. It's unelected, unaccountable, unconstitutional, and unnecessary. And yet they create the policy that governs all of our lives with impunity. We need to get rid of it entirely. Parties and party leaders need to divest power to the constituents so that MPs can do our jobs, which is to represent the interests of our neighbors. So I'm inviting you today to a politics of courage and passion and empathy and leadership, and together we can do this. Here's how. It starts by getting to know our neighbors. And by neighbors, I mean the people next door. I mean the people across the world. I mean the people that look and act and think like us. And most importantly, I mean the people who don't think and look and act like us. Once we get to know our neighbors, we develop understanding. And Della's stories furthered our understanding of what's going on. Once we have understanding, then those of us who are privileged, those are intimidating numbers, can develop empathy. And once we have empathy, which is what I think is lacking most in Ottawa today, once we have empathy, our only choice and our only desire is to act. The next thing, host voting parties, please. Chances are if you voted last election, your neighbor did not. So host a party, have a barbecue, toast democracy, join arms, tell each other, we're going to the polls today, we're going to vote today, and I invite you to vote Green, vote Tamela Friesen if you're in Regina Louvan, and to tell everybody else that you're doing it. Thank you.